Well, folks, the time has come. We have a trailer that has dropped for Marvel's Agatha All Along. And if you're wondering what in the world is that and why is Marvel putting this out as part of the MCU, I wouldn't be totally surprised because this is a total spinoff from the WandaVision television show, which, from everything that I have gathered, did not exactly do gangbusters. Now, before we dig really deep into this video, I do want to preface that I have seen WandaVision actually multiple times and really liked the show a lot. But when this news was announced that we were getting this television show, I was confused and just a little surprised that this is the direction that they were going. So the question is this show just going to be an Acolyte 2.0 for Marvel just on their field instead of happening over at Star Wars? Or is this going to be a hit? I've seen the trailer and I'm going to go ahead and give you guys my thoughts on what I think is going to happen. And I don't think it's looking good.
Are you crying?
No. Yes.
Now, before we get started, as always, make sure to like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff, and more importantly than any of it, make sure to visit criticalist.com, and if you have any thoughts or opinions on WandaVision, make sure to go in there and go ahead and leave a review, because Criticalist is an entertainment reviewing platform for talking about movies and TV and all the things that you are consuming. So pop in and give us a review and let us know what you think of this show or the other MCU shows. I've actually made a list of all of the Marvel movies ranked and the television shows ranked, so feel free to check that out on my account as well. On to the trailer. I have watched this thing. I'm going to let it play over on the side and let you guys check it out while I'm kind of commenting on it a little bit, but just not really say a whole lot about every piece and part of it. But I just wanted to talk about it as a whole, because I was watching this, it started and I'm like, oh, a police procedural? That's what's going on here? That's actually kind of interesting and has, you know, at least grabbed me a little bit and made me possibly want to see what's going on with this. Maybe it's that she's pretending to be a cop and they're doing some sort of mystery they're solving. But then it gets to this part right here where it shows that this is actually her hallucinating and something's going on in her mind, and basically all of her powers have been lost by Wanda and all of the things that happened in WandaVision. And like I said, you might or might not have seen this. I don't think it actually, you know, did gangbusters and all of the MCU fans saw it. So I think making a spinoff of this is odd at the very least, but I was interested because she was kind of a breakout hit character when they did the show, and so they had me kind of grabbed onto it. But then as I'm watching, it gets to this point right here, and I'm like, oh, okay, so we've got this young dude and these other older ladies and this younger witch, and basically this is just gonna be another chick show, basically.
Power of one, the power of two, the power of many.
And which there's nothing necessarily wrong with that as far as Marvel goes, but the whole thing is that Marvel has had this big pivot of late, which has happened across Star Wars and many other brands, and we've talked about this in the past, where what is happening with all of these big brands that were traditionally more of a boy brand. Now, granted, that is not to say that Marvel is just for boys. I mean, my daughter loves Marvel stuff. She's been carrying around Spider-Man stuff for days and is on a Spider-Man kick right now, and I mean, she's 10 years old, so it's not even like she's, you know, little. She loves this stuff and watches the movies regularly, but as a whole, this has always been more of a boy brand for the most part, kind of the same thing with Star Wars. And I think that this show in particular stands out as what has happened with these shows and what we've seen going on in the industry as a whole is them trying to make a shift and market to demographics that don't necessarily have an interest in what you are doing. Not this type, where it's like, my wife has seen all of the Marvel movies with me over the years, but after the Endgame and all of that, she quit. She quit watching them and gave it a rest because she was just kind of over it and it wasn't her bag. And I think that that's happened with a lot of chicks in this brand. And the thing is after they've been running for so long and did so well, then they decided to make this big pivot, and everything that they've been doing is failing. Marvel is floundering, and it feels like they are marketing to the wrong people. They're creating projects that aren't aimed in the right direction, and even more so on top of that, the biggest problem of all of it has been that these shows and things that they're creating, they're bringing on creators that just aren't really invested in the brand itself and are just trying to make it their own. It's happening in Star Wars, and it's happening here, and it just feels like this whole idea was more of like, oh, like people kind of like this character, so we're just going to make this random spin-off show that nobody really asked for and most people probably aren't going to want, but like witches are really in right now and that might grab the chicks and bring them in.
Put another gay diverse woman in it, make it more fucking lame.
I don't know how big that market is. Like, how big of a pool of people are you choosing from? Because I'm a mega Marvel fan, and like I said, I liked the other show, but watching this, I was just like, oh no, this doesn't look good. This doesn't interest me in the slightest, and I don't really care to see it. Now, I've seen everything Marvel thus far, so I'd be lying to say that I won't try and check it out, but if what happens with The Acolyte happens with this, then I'm going to bail before we get to the end. And I was like, what is this about? So I started searching the articles, and I found right here, and here's the breakdown of the show now that they have an official synopsis here. And it says, the infamous Agatha Harkness finds herself down and out of power after a suspicious goth teen helps break her free from a distorted spell. And I am guessing that this is the little skinny dude that we saw in the trailer multiple times, which I was a little bit confused about because it's about witches, and he's a dude.
Not looking for right-minded witches, as it happens.
But it just seems like all of these shows seem to be checking off boxes in this kind of a way. And they're like, oh, we're going to have a boy witch cuz, you know, very modern. And that's just seems to be what's on brand with all of this stuff. So anyways, it says her interest is piqued when he begs her to take him on the legendary Witch's Road, a magical gauntlet of trials that, if survived, rewards a witch with what they're missing. Together, Agatha and this mysterious teen pull together a desperate coven and set off down the road. So it sounds like they're kind of pulling on a little bit of a Wizard of Oz thing here, and you know, having this Witch's Road, and I don't know, bringing this little dude along for the ride. Just what is happening? I mean, this just feels like more of the stuff that's been happening, like with The Acolyte, and it seems more agenda-based in its creation than actually wanting to make something interesting that people want to show up for. And that's just my initial impression of this trailer. I'm not going to say that that is what it is, but just from looking at on the surface and this log line, like breaking down what the show is, that's what it feels like, which bodes really badly for Marvel, because right now we are on the cusp of Wolverine and Deadpool.
I am soaking wet right now.
Which I think is going to do gangbusters. But I don't think that this is going to be the thing to save the MCU, especially being that this is what's going to follow up that movie. So, you know, let's say you have people grabbed on and hankering for something else, and, you know, after seeing Wolverine and Deadpool, but then what you give them is Agatha all along. Not some bigger MCU character that people want to see. They give you this. So you lose them there. And then I went to find out what else is coming out. And so this is following it up in September. And then we have Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, which could potentially do okay. We'll see. This is an animated show, but then Eyes of Wakanda, I'm not even totally sure everything about this. I don't think it's going to be animated from the searching that I've done, but it very well might be. I don't know that this isn't even about Black Panther. It's just about a bunch of side characters doing random stuff. And then we have Captain America Brave New World. And this is a big worry too, because if you have not seen the news, this movie is in trouble, serious trouble. It is looking at a $375 million budget just to shoot this, like shooting it and making it is where they're at with the budget. And that is not good, considering that is not even including marketing. This movie is going to have to make a truckload of money, but it's because they are basically having to completely remake the film because early test screening of it were so bad that everyone hated it, and they've basically been restructuring the entire film and spending absolute truckloads of money. So that's the thing, is the next big movie after Deadpool and Wolverine is this. And in between that is a bunch of stuff that I don't think people are really going to care about. So I think that what Deadpool and Wolverine might unfortunately be is the dying, gasping last breaths of this brand versus it actually being a kickstart to something new. Now, granted, a lot of this stuff was probably on the shelf and they don't want to nuke it and just totally get rid of it. They might just put it out into the ether and then forget about it. But and restructure from there, and maybe they can fix Captain America enough that people are going to enjoy it. But either way, it's just not looking good for that movie. I think part of that has to do with making Sam Wilson Captain America instead of making Bucky Captain America, and then putting out, Captain Do Better for the series. And it was a show that a lot of people did not like, and then at the end ended with a preaching message, and it just rubbed me especially the wrong way. I had no intention of wanting to see any more after they did that with this character. Captain America is a unifying figure, not someone who is scolding regular people to do better. I mean, it came off really, really bad. And so I don't think that we're going to have a success with that either. So I'm really just perplexed now that they've dropped this trailer, because it doesn't look like it's going to be something fun or interesting. It just looks like more of the same, and it honestly reminded me of some of the stuff happening over at Acolyte. Now, granted, with the Acolyte, it is just one of the worst things ever that I've ever seen made. I mean, the writing, the acting, the sets, everything about it is bad. I think even from this trailer, Agatha looks a good bit better as far as the structure, so at least maybe it'll be a moderately decent sit, probably in the bogus range on the critical scale as far as that goes, that lower end of things, or hopefully not a heinous. But either way, I just don't know. I mean, I pulled up the reviews earlier, but my wife gave WandaVision a 92%, but I saw this trailer and I had her in mind, and I'm like, she's going to see this and think that it looks completely stupid and not want to watch it. So if you can't bring back folks like that to watch this show, then who do you have when you have someone that's given WandaVision a 92, but then this is what you're dishing out? So things are not looking good for Marvel. I think that they are going to really continue to struggle after Wolverine and Deadpool, and it looks like the stuff on the docket is probably not going to save them either. But you guys can let me know what you think with your thoughts down in the comments below for sure. I am really interested, and I mean, look, this is probably one of those videos that's going to get me attacked for saying that it doesn't look good, but I'm just giving you my first impressions on it, and I don't think that this is what the fan base wants. This isn't some big Marvel hero, and then on top of that, it's going to be one of these girl boss shows about more witches because. And I mean, this is just more of the Disney Marvel thing that is happening, and it's happening everywhere across that entire brand. So just, let me know your thoughts and everything down in the comments. I'm really interested to hear where people sit with it, but my opinion is it's not looking good for Marvel, and I do not think that Deadpool and Wolverine are going to be able to totally save this brand. As always, like I said before, like, subscribe, comment. It helps us out a lot, and we will be back tomorrow with more news. Take it easy, everybody.